All right, it's my pleasure to introduce our main speaker tonight. Mike, come on up and take the mic. Let's give Mike a round of applause.
Mike Attic. A little bit nervous, but we'll get through it. I started a long time ago. I'm 64 years old. I started drinking and using when I was a kid. It was okay in my family to drink. Dad used to think it was cool to have me sit on his knee and guzzle his beer. So I got a taste for booze at a very young age, and it was okay. I was a good student. I was a good kid. Up until I was about 15. I hated people that did drugs. I told myself I would never use. And everything I told myself I wasn't going to be, I turned into. I was a liar, a cheat, a thief, womanizer, just so many things, and yeah, I remember in the third grade, I got caught for stealing at 7-Eleven, and I think that's when things started spiraling downhill from there. But other than that, I was still a pretty good kid. My dad left when I was our house when we were 11, and that hit me harder than anything. My dad was my idol, and when he left, I blamed my mom for years. And the older I get, the more I start remembering things of what really was going on. My dad put a lot of a lot of thoughts in my head that he probably shouldn't have. How you never get a woman that makes more money than you, because then she can tell you what to do. And so I got instilled in my brain at a young age. And then I smoked pot for the first time at 15 on a trip to a ski trip to Jackson Hole, Wyoming. And I thought I was in heaven. It agreed with me. And then next thing you know, I was doing a little bit of cocaine, and then cocaine led into crack. And crack was a motherfucker, boy. You go in, all of a sudden you do one hit and freeze mode, and you don't want to talk, shh, we don't make a sound. A friend of mine, Mark, God rest his soul, we'd go to his house and he had a speaker by the door, and we'd hear a leaf blowing 3 blocks away, and everybody going freeze mode. You know what I mean? Because the cops were coming. He had a sky roof. The cops were coming. And that's what I thought. We were having fun. You know what I mean? We thought that was fun. And it got worse and worse. I was 150 pounds soaking wet, thinking I was looking good, wearing 2 pairs of pants and 3 shirts, to look like I got some weight on, and let me backtrack a little bit. I was great in school. I took the test for the armed services at 17. I scored number 1 in all of Southern California. They were going to send me to quartermaster school, and then on the first application, I said I smoked pot like once a month. Then a week later, they asked me again. I said I smoked about once a week. The third time they asked me, I smoke every day. So now they want me to see an admiral, and I said, fuck, man, I'm not going to see this admiral. And so I turned that shit down. I backed up, and I ended up being a longshoreman, and I was a longshoreman for 39 years. I retired 2 years ago, and I had everything by the balls. I had the world by the balls, but everything, I couldn't save a dime. All my money went to drugs and alcohol, and I was stone fuck up. Me and Johnny known each other since we were kids. We partied together. And he knows my story, and I hated myself for a long time, but I loved myself. I was so selfish that I didn't care about who I was hurting, because I thought, oh, it's just me, and I thought I was invincible and all those sort of things. And what we do when we're kids. And then I got introduced to, when I first got in Longshoreline, it took me about 9 months and I was already in treatment for the first time. I went to a place called Turning Point up in Santa Rosa, and I stayed clean for a little while, but I never worked the steps, so I can't say it was a relapse, Then I was doing good, it taught me how to use kind of better, I guess. And then around that's when I went to Fred Brown for the first time, actually, right after that treatment. And I knew Fred and sober living, and it was fun, 15 of us living in a house, and we are all longshoremen except for maybe two. And that was a house up on Sepulveda, and you had to have a job to live there, and I found some good friends. I still have them, a lot of those friends, and a lot of them are dead. From this disease. So I don't know how many friends of mine have OD'd, and I don't know why I'm still here. As much shit as I done, and but I'm still here. But I started doing the steps. I got into the 4th step, and I had it all written out, getting ready to read it to my sponsor, and it's in the garage up on I've had it way deep up in the rafters, and my ex-wife got a hold of it and read it, and that didn't go over well. A lot of it was about her, and so I never did that, and then I went out and got loaded again. And relapse is a huge part of my story. I've been to treatment, I don't even know how many times I can count. I managed to get a year here and there, and they said if you don't like what you have, give it a year. So I would wait until the 366th day, and I was getting high again, and I did that several times. And then in 2011 or something like that, Johnny, 2010, I moved to Johnny, and I had like, I don't know, a little while clean, and I was doing real good. And I used to laugh at him, and I said, why do you go to so many fucking meetings? Because he would come home from work, and when he worked his ass off, he'd come home from work, take a 15-minute nap, take a shower, and then he'd go to a meeting. And I said, fuck them meetings. I hated everybody in these meetings. I thought it was a bunch of losers, and I was a loser, because the winners were right here sitting in these seats, and but I was really fucked up in the head, after 2 years of being sober, I went to a meeting and said, if I was as miserable as as the people in here, I'd be getting loaded again. Well, 2 years later, I was, but I managed to stay pretty good for 4.5 years, and then I got real big, and I looked like somebody, a friend of ours, and and yeah, and so I next thing you know, I was drinking again, and started using again, one more time, and I don't even know where I'm going with this. I just my life was a wreck. And I was a pretty decent guy. I made a lot of money, never saved a dime. I had the greatest job in the world. I got a great, loving, supporting family. I've got four kids from 3 different moms, and I still pay all 3 of them moms. And I make a lot of mistakes. I've made a lot of mistakes in recovery and in sobriety, but I stay sober now. All I do now is meetings. I hang out with all you guys. For years I thought I could get clean and still go hang out with my old friends and show them how good I was doing, and it didn't work. It didn't work. I always thought I was too young, because I started this thing at such a young age that I was too young to be an addict, too young to be an alcoholic, and so I didn't stick around. I had to beat myself up a long time, and I my head's all scattered right now, and yeah, what am I? what was it like? I don't know, probably in high school. You know how fun it was to go out there and drink and get high and have it all that good time. But then all of a sudden, one day it just stops being fun. You know, and believe me, I had a lot of fun. And then it stops being fun, and then all you got is yourself to look at in the mirror. You know, and I had a lot of shame, a lot of guilt. I let a lot of people down, you know, my dad especially. You know, he always told me don't fuck up my good name, you know, so I did everything I could. You know, they called me the sniper at work because I'd be up in my crane and I had a freaking pellet gun with me and I would shoot the fucking crane next to me and shattered windows. You know, I was in my crane quite a few quite a few times, and I would fall asleep, you know, with the handles in my hand, a container on the hook, and it's swinging back and forth. And so all of a sudden, I'd hear something on the radio. Hey, you okay? Oh, I'm just adjusting the seat. Well, come to find out, I was asleep for an hour. You know what I mean? And they had to send somebody up the ladder and go bang on my door. Hey! And I said, what the fuck? I thought I was asleep for 2 minutes. You know what I mean? And I wasn't. And thank God I never killed anybody. You know, I had incidents on the freeway where I'm coming down the 710 and where it goes like this and I'm going straight forward and my radio skipped. You know, the CD skipped and woke me up. You know, so I know there's a God and I'm not him, you know, but I've had angels on my shoulder like my mom's told me for my whole life, you know, because I've had so many near misses and I'm still here. But, you know, getting back to work, yeah, I've shamed myself. I shamed my kids so many times, you know, and then this last run, it was about 10 years long. I moved to the desert so I could be by myself, you know, and I had a 4,000 square foot house with no water, no power, generators. And I am a longshoreman. I'm shitting in buckets, fucking no running water. And I thought I was better than somebody, you know. I really thought I was better than somebody. And fuck, man, what a nightmare. You know, I didn't want nobody coming by my house, so that's why I moved down there. Johnny came down to my house to see me, and I couldn't even look at him. You know, I hid, you know, because I was ashamed of myself. But it still didn't stop me. You know, this disease, it didn't stop me from still doing what I was doing. And I was commuting back and forth, and I was using, and I was still operating a crane. You know, they trusted me with $1 million piece of equipment, and I didn't give a fuck. You know, I really didn't give a fuck. This disease had me so bad. But you know, let me backtrack a little bit. You know, I used crack until I was 30, and then when I found methamphetamine that got me off of crack, you know, I thought I was in heaven. You know, because I was able to work, and I knew where I lived. You know, I could communicate with people, and I put some weight back on. But that worked for a little while. It worked pretty good for a little while until the dope got shitty, you know, and I got shitty. You know, I started going to jail when I was 19 years old, and we got in a little fist fight up here, and my dad talked to the judge thinking he was going to scare me straight by sending me to the county. And all that did was make me worse, you know, because the fear of going was a lot worse than getting there, you know. So I had to go back to jail every year since I was 19 years old, except for the 4 years and the years in between that I was sober, you know, and clean. And so there's got to be some kind of correlation to that, you know, that if I don't use, I don't go to jail. You know, I don't end up in handcuffs. And now this last one, you know, it took they found a crack pipe in my crane, or not a speed pipe in my crane, and I swore up and down it wasn't mine, but I wouldn't drug test. You know, I told them I was out of the state, and so they fired me. And 2 days later, I get arrested in Cyprus for having a felon with a loaded firearm, and got charged with 13 more felonies. And I pled guilty to 3. got convicted. They said 5 years joint suspension, and then they wanted me to do treatment, and then I didn't do any of it. And so the day before I was going to get locked up, I turned myself into treatment, and that was June 9th of last year. And that was the best decision of my life, you know. Yeah, it was the best decision of my life. I went to a treatment facility here in San Clemente, and my life now is way different than it was 14 months ago. Today I can be a son, I can be a father, I can be a brother, you know, I'm a friend, and and so much more. I've had so many blessings these last 14 months. It's unbelievable. You know, I'm working, I got a sponsor, I got a home group, I got a commitment, and I'm involved in this. You know, like I said, I don't hang out with anybody that's not sober anymore or clean. You know, I have no time for them. You know, I can say hello to my old friends in passing, but I went through my phone, and anybody that had anything to do with my past, I deleted. You know, and now I hang out with these guys. You know, and some of the fellas in here. You know, and that's what I do. You know, I stay completely active in this program. You know, if you want to find me, I'm sitting in front of the Alumni Club from 8 o'clock in the morning till the last meeting at night, you know, if I'm not at another meeting. You know, you guys and Fred Brown, you know, I always, the young guys, oh my God, you don't know how good your life's going to be if you just stick to this thing. I thought I was too young to be an addict, and I found out I wasn't. You know, you don't have to beat yourself up for 50 years. You know, my friend Danny here and John, they've been clean for so damn long, you know, before most of you guys have been born, you know, because they did it right the first time. You know, they got into the steps, they got into the work, you know, and yeah, you know, one's got 36 years, 33 years, 21 years, so it can be done, you know, and I love these guys. You know, they came here for me. I just told them I was speaking tonight, and they came here for me. I didn't want them to be here. I was fucking nervous as fuck. You know what I mean? And but but you know what? I'm glad they're here. You know, because this is I love these guys. You know, I love. Oh man, I got feelings today. You know, I never had feelings any time in my life. You know, I drowned in them. You know, I still haven't shed a tear over my father. You know, because I never give myself time to. I haven't even thought about it. You know, I've been supposed to write this letter. You know, goodbye letter to my dad, and I keep putting it off because I don't want to feel those feelings. You know, I hated my dad for so long, but then when I start thinking about it, he did the best he could. You know, he was an only child from an immigrant family from Croatia. And my grandparents didn't speak a word of English when they got here. And they did the best they could, but we didn't, in my family, they didn't love. You know, no, my dad, one time I've heard him tell me he loved me in my entire life, you know, and so I make sure I tell my kids I love them every day, you know, and I think it's important to hear it. You know, I mean, I know he loved me because he was a provider. My dad always made it to work. You know, he put a roof over our head and all that stuff. But when he left at 11, I hated him, you know, because he was my everything to me, you know. And when he disappeared, you know, he was one of those fathers that would get on the phone and say, you're grounded, you know, but I knew that he was in the bar. So he'd call a second time, and as soon as that second time that phone would ring, I'd be out my window and I'd be gone. You know, it was just, my whole life was a mess. My entire life has been a mess. And I don't want to live like that no more. You know, I don't want to live like that no more. I like the person I'm becoming. You know, I can't say I love myself, but I like myself today. I can look in the mirror and I went to probation this morning. You know, I'm that felony probation, and my probation officer, first thing he said, man, he goes, you look a lot taller. And I said, what? He goes, yeah, you grew, because you're standing up straight, because I was always slouched over, fucking loaded. I went to his office so many times and I was loaded. He wouldn't test me because he knew I was fucking high. And today, now I want him to test me. I asked him to test me because it makes me feel good. And then the last time I went to court, and they gave me my final sentence and all that. When I told them I had 90 days clean, the whole freaking place applauded me. You know how good I felt? When the whole court stopped and applauded me, all the court clerk, the judge, the DA, everybody. And that's a good feeling, and I got 3 more months to go on this probation. And I think that's when my life's going to be, that's why I got to get the tools now, because that's when my life's going to get a little bit different, because I don't have nobody to answer to, I'm not going to have any drug testing or any of that stuff anymore. And I know in the past that when I get off of some kind of control, that when I start taking my life in my own hands, and then I end up doing something to fuck it up. I'm not comfortable with what did my friend tell me I was? He goes, I'm afraid of what was it? Of success, and when I started thinking about it, he's right. Because every time my life starts going good, I find a way to fuck it up. Whether it's looking in the mirror for the fucking cops to be behind me, all that chaos that comes with fucking getting loaded. And now if a cop gets behind me, I don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? There's nothing they can do to me. I got a driver's license, got insurance, everything, all my shit's up to date. So I live pretty good. I got a great relationship with my mother. I live with my mom and my stepdad. They're 93 and 88. And now I watch shows like fucking Survivor and fucking The Bachelor and shit, with my mom. You know what I mean? And it's fucking cracks me up because I'm watching this shit and we're laughing and all this other stuff. But I get to do that with my mother. How many of us have lost our mom? I don't know how many of you guys have lost your parents, but, I lost my dad, but he and I hadn't been close in so long. But if I was to lose my mom, I don't know what would happen. You know what I mean? That's why I'm really getting serious in this program, because I want to have the tools, to be able to, when something does happen, because you can't live forever. When my mom's 88 and she's not going to live forever, and the day's going to come. And right now we got some turmoil going in the house with with the family shit. My mother and my brother something's going on, and I don't know what it is, and I don't want to. So I gotta see what the heck's going on with them, but I gotta do it find a way to do it in a loving way, without fucking losing my temper. I love my brother, and he and I are really tight, but my sister-in-law, for some reason, is getting in the way with my peace. So I don't know what I'm gonna do. I got to figure something out. I know I'm gonna have to talk to my brother about it, because the longer I let it fester, because we don't have the luxury of having resentments in this program. Resentments are going to take me back to where I know the comfort I know, and to forget. And I want to be able to feel. I got 2 fucking beautiful granddaughters that are scared of me. You know what I mean? Every time I come, they start crying, but after a while, they warm up to me. But I got so many freaking blessings now in this program. I got 3 babies' moms, and I get along great with all of them. I always thought they were the crazy ones, but when I think about it, who was a common denominator in all them, in my shit? It was me. So I got to do a lot of writing. I owe my ex-wife more amends than anybody, because a week after I got married, I cheated on her, and I broke her heart to where I hurt her so bad where she couldn't love her own sons. I still never heard her tell my sons she's loved them. And that was my doing. And Yeah, I don't know. I just kind of all over the place. I just got to tell you, you know what? You guys find yourself some buddies. You know, some guys that you can relate to and that you can trudge with. You know, because your life's gonna get good, and you know, I know my life in a mere 14 months is where I was 14 months and 2 days ago to today is a complete 180. Is a complete 180. You know, like I said, I was shitting in buckets, you know, thinking I was doing big things, and my house, it took my house burning down in the desert, and it got me, and then I was living in my car, you know, and then I lost my car, and then I didn't have shit, you know, so then I got my brother gave me a car, but yeah, you know, I'm a Class A longshoreman making big money, and I'm living in my fucking car in the Motel 6 parking lot thinking I'm better than somebody. You know, I don't know where my that kind of fucking ego or whatever you want to call it fucking comes from, you know, because it's terrible. You know, I mean, I was a horrible person. I was a horrible father, a horrible husband, a horrible son, and today I'm not. You know, I've really turned my life around, and you know, you guys, I'm going to send you this, but Fred never wanted anybody. All you guys, Fred never wanted anybody thanking him. You know, he didn't want praise. Fred would tell you that this is a business, and if you don't pay your rent, you're out of here. You know what I mean? He wasn't doing this for a pat on the back or anything. It was his livelihood, and but Fred was a straightforward man. He'd tell you like it is, and then you didn't like it. He was a big sucker. You know what I mean? Big dude, and he would definitely kick your ass if you got out of line. And I love the man. We all knew him very well. You know, and what Roxy's done to this program for you guys is unbelievable. You know, she just really expanded, and Fred Brown is awesome. You know, this program for you guys is unbelievable. You know, take advantage of it while you're here, and get all you can out of this thing. And that's all I got. Thanks.